Hey, shalom, shalom. First off, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rachah Kodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, GMS who rule well and teach well, whose labors we have entered into, to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. To you I say shalom, and to the Akim and Akwaf, brothers and sisters that may be tuning in, may this lesson uplift your spirit. This is the brother Halal from the Great Millstone branch of Chicago coming at you with another lesson in truth. And, the entire world, particularly, of course, the Western world, Babylon the Great, where this gospel is being preached the most, are all, bearing witness to the men of the Lord. And it may not seem like it because YouTube is always, limiting our views. Certain brothers' videos that have like 1,000 views, and Esau will bring the number down to like 500, so that less people will see it. But even through Esau's efforts to silence this word, and trying his hardest to make sure this thing doesn't gain traction, it's already entered into the mainstream. The many celebrities have come out saying that they're Israelites. That conscious rapper Kendrick Lamar, from Kendrick to even, trap nigga rappers like Kodak Black and even G Herbo, man. From the conscious rappers to the trap, gangster rap, that's being pushed out there in the mainstream media. So the world is taking notice of the prophets, man. And why is that? Because deep down, these people know that we have the truth within us, man. And we are the spirit of the Lord's mouth that are on this earth, perpetuating the names of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, proclaiming the names in front of the people, like the scriptures told us to do. But let's get that Corinthians, I believe, 1 Corinthians 4 and 9, and this is Apostle Paul speaking. It says, "For I think that the Most High have set forth us the apostles last, as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men." In the men of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, we are indeed, a spectacle unto the world. Let's actually go into the word spectacle in the Greek for further clarification on what it means. Because the word spectacle has a very, deep meaning. And that's what the men of the Lord, it's like what the men of the Lord represent. We teach out there on the street corners, man.
Strong's G 2302. Theatron.
Theatron. And it says a theater, a place where games, dramatic spectacles are exhibited in public assemblies. It says a public show, a man who is exhibited to be gazed at and made sport of. So, we're out there on the street corners, going live, we're prophesying to the wind. The people of the earth that don't have a true understanding in the deep knowledge that we have, they look at us as a spectacle, man. As a dramatized show, so to speak. They see the men of the Lord cursing out Esau, and the nations in their anger, getting on the 2/3 of our people, getting on, the so-called, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, getting on the black women. And, we're looked at as a spectacle unto the world, to the point where you have comedians and rappers coming out speaking on who the true 12 tribes are. You got these comedians like Drewski making skits. And, these people may mock us and look down upon us, but at the end of the day, they're bearing witness to the true men of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And the majority of the people that come across us don't believe. But what did the Lord say? It says Romans 3:3, it says, "For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect?" And the answer is no. Just because the majority of the people in the earth want to follow their own way, their own religion, their own way of life, and adhere to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Esau Edom's system, that does not mean that the Lord does not have any power. That doesn't make the power of the Most High without effect, man. Verse 4, Most High forbid. So the answer is no. Yea, let the Most High be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. And the men of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, the elect, Lord will we be of that number. We are about to be justified in our sayings, man. All these scriptures that we've read out there on those street corners, rebuking our people, telling them day in and day out to get right with Yahweh B'Shem Shai, because the day of great calamity and destruction is approaching the earth, and in particular the Western Hemisphere. This country known today as North America, but in the scriptures is Babylon the Great. It's all about to come to pass, man. Let's see. From there, let's get Proverbs 1:20, and it says, wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gate. In the city she uttereth her word, saying, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. So, in this chapter, wisdom, is described as a woman, not a physical woman, but figuratively. It's figurative, spiritual language, man. But what does this wisdom crying out in the streets represent? The men of Yahweh B'Shem Shai that are preaching on those street corners, man. Then verse 21 says what? The chief place of concourse, which means what? The areas where many people inhabit. The downtown areas, in front of movie theaters, on the street corners, in front of, stores that many people gather and go to and congregate amongst themselves. The men of the Lord are in all those places, man, preaching the true gospel of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. And the people of the earth can no longer ignore it, man. Now they want to make all these TikTok videos scoffing the men of Yahweh B'Shem Shai, making light of the prophets, making light of the prophecies and denying them, but yet they're all coming to pass, man. And deep down, these people are in fear, When people are in fear, one of their main defense mechanisms is to project on the others, man. Going to all out, fight mode. And you've had people try to harm the men of Yahweh B'Shem Shai. But why? Ultimately because of fear, man. These people know deep down that this gospel that we're preaching is true, and that it is indeed justice, and that eventually it will happen, man. And the demons that are in these people, have been tasked by Yahweh B'Shem Shai to bother the men of the Lord and to scoff. That's why you see so many scoffers right now. Because in all actuality, really it's not them, but it's the demons that's inside them, that's making their true wickedness come out. This is the book of Psalms. I ended off with this. This is Psalms chapter 40. In 1, it says, to the chief musician, a psalm of David, I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. He hath put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto the Most High. Many shall see it in fear, and shall trust in Yahweh B'Shem Shai. And the prophets, we're singing, a song on those street corners, man. Not an actual song, they got a rhythm that you can dance to, but spiritually. It's a spiritual song that we speak when we go out on those highways and byways. And many of the people that see us, they know deep down that they're cut to the heart, and they have a problem with his prophets. And ultimately, they have a problem with Yahweh B'Shem Shai. So it doesn't matter what these people do, to try to, deny the prophecies, man. Eventually, all these things will come to pass, and the righteous will be proven to be right. So I hope this lesson was edifying. With that, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh Bashim Shai, Bashim Rachakodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstones G. Mess, rule well and teach well. Shalom. See you in the next lesson, Lord willing.